Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies. And this is Karma and Social Responsibility by the Supreme Secretary, AMORC. An article from Rosicrucian Digest, Volume 23, Number 3, April 1945. Karma and Social Responsibility by the Supreme Secretary, AMORC. As the scope and expanse of the physical horizon varies, depending upon the point from which the individual looks about him, so does the horizon of knowledge and experience vary in direct accord with the life and experience of the individual. We are able to see in the physical sense insofar as the eyes is capable, and to the point where physical barrier intercepts our vision. To the person who lives in a narrow valley, the horizon is smaller than to him who lives on the plains. But by ascending the mountains, the horizon is expanded. In the same sense, new ideas and knowledge, coupled with experience, expand our mental horizons and cause us to see beyond the limitations that may be set upon our opinions and prejudices. The law of karma, as it has been interpreted in the Western world, is basically an application to man's living of the laws of cause and effect, as they are seen to operate in the physical world. We base our experiences and acts upon the belief in the stability of the law of cause and effect. Almost every move which we make, we do so with the firm belief that the law of cause and effect will not vary. We know, for example, that when we put out a fire, the extinguishing of the fire is the step we take to eliminate the cause. Once the fire is completely extinguished, we know that the effect will be maintained and that we can go about our affairs without concern or worry that the removal of the cause was insufficient or if the effect was complete, and therefore feel safe from the destruction which the fire might produce if it were not entirely extinguished. If we do not have faith in the law of cause and effect, we would be in a constant state of mental turmoil, wondering whether or not an act that was done would remain so. If we build our lives in accordance with the operation of the law of karma, we will constantly be brought into a state of realization of the fact that every act and every idea which we put into action will have its results in some form or another. An elementary interpretation of the operation of the law of karma is that we will be punished for the wrongs we do, and that for the good we do, we will have certain recompense or reward. This is a narrow viewpoint, particularly if we try to direct our lives and use as a basis for our actions the idea of personal reward or punishment. Karma is more than a concern for our own selfish interest. The law of karma makes it possible for man to see beyond the horizon which ordinarily surrounds him. He who accepts the idea or principle of karma will realize that the horizon of his mental vision does not end with the limitations of his understanding any more than does the physical horizon of the inhabitant of a valley end with the high mountain about him. Just as such an individual may climb the mountains and extend his horizon if he has the inclination and ambition. So the individual who believes in the law of karma may realize that the events of his immediate life are only limited by his understanding and his scope of vision, and that it is possible, through experience and knowledge, to extend the horizon. He may also realize that the events of this life, which includes his attempt to solve the problems of good and evil, of fortune and misfortune, and his failure to understand, are not to be circumscribed by a horizon of limited scope, but can be extended indefinitely, limited only by his understanding and desire to increase that understanding. Those of us who accept this law view life as a whole from a different perspective. We are able to see beyond the limitations into which we were born. We are even able to see beyond the limitations and handicaps of one life or numerous lives. We are able to extend our vision, not in terms of one lifetime, but in the terms of the cosmic scheme, which existed even before we were and will continue to exist and carry out its purposes as we extend ourselves into time. Such a concept is an individualistic belief. Man in his acceptance of karma has a tendency to be concerned with his own acts and thoughts. Those who refuse to entertain value in the operation of the law of karma do so upon the basis that the acceptance of this principle causes the average individual to shirk his social responsibility. The critic points out that many who believe in the law of karma become extreme introverts. They, in fact, build a life strictly about themselves, trying to link all causes and effects with their own actions and narrow lives. Should this interpretation be put upon a law which is not limited to any individual, but which exists as a part of the manifestation of the entire cosmic law? The individual is only harming himself by shutting himself off from the operation of the law. It is conceivable that an individual might refuse service from a company dispensing electrical power and might desire to illuminate his own home by a mechanical operating generator or an adequate number of batteries. No one denies that there is a physical possibility that he could produce light in this manner. But in shutting off a greater source of supply, he is adding to his problem of producing light by many inconveniencies and inadequacies. So it is with man. If he shuts himself off from the source of all things, and if he tries to use a segment of cosmic law, particularly for his own sake, he must assume with that choice the inconveniencies, additional problems, and inadequacies that must surely be the result. If the law of karma is to be accepted as a philosophy of men and women, it must be accepted not as a separate entity in itself, stranded as it were from any relationship to other universal laws, but rather as a manifestation of one law which the all-wise Creator has established not necessarily for the benefit or privilege of man, but to carry out his purpose, which may be at the moment, insofar as man's vision is concerned, beyond the scope of man's ability to grasp and analyze. The belief in karma is not a form of individualism. It carries with it definitely an emphasis upon social responsibility. To be concerned only for the effects of personal and individual actions is to shut oneself off from the manifestation of this law. We will be able to properly adjust ourselves to a greater universal scheme only when we each take our place in the world, composed of other beings much like ourselves, and realize that every cause and effect, insofar as the life process of mankind is concerned, is not something confined within our own mind or body, but something which has a relationship with the ideas and activities of every other living being. Therefore, it is literally true that we are each our brother's keeper, not in the sense that we can be made responsible for the destiny of each human being about us, but insofar as we participate in the problems and activities of society as a whole, will we better the social status for ourselves. If crime, war, and economic problems are to be wiped from the face of the earth, we must gain a concept of social responsibility. We must realize that our karma is not exclusively a product of what we actually do, but definitely a result of what we may fail to do. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.